Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And today, I'm getting comfy, but today I'm doing my mid-month wrap-up. So I did do a mid-month wrap-up last month. I can't remember why, but I quite enjoy doing them because I get to talk about the books that I've read midway through the month. I have read so far this month 5 books this month so far, which is pretty good going. One of them's an audiobook, which I will start with, and then I'll talk about the other books that I've got here. So the first book that I consumed is the audiobook of The Year of Living Danishly by Helen Russell. So previously, you've probably heard me absolutely rave on about this book. I think it was my second favourite book of the year last year. Absolutely loved it. Oh, Minnie's just come. Minnie sometimes goes under the sofa, and when she comes out, we say that she's been in her bedroom, and it's always very cute when she comes out. So I have previously given this book 5 stars, absolutely adored it. Guys, this time I gave it 3 stars. I don't know how do I start, because this is difficult to do, because I still really enjoy the content that they've got in there about Denmark, and I feel like it's sort of pitched at the right audience. Helen Russell, the author of the book, I imagine she's roughly my age, because she's interested in the sort of things I'm interested in. But I've got to say, this time round, I found that there was quite a lot of first world problems in there. So the things, she can't find what she wants to eat in the supermarket, and it's all a bit sort of middle class and ooh. And also I found it was a bit sort of poking fun at Danish people and Denmark in general, in a sort of way that I was a bit like, oh, this doesn't sit with me nicely. So one of the examples I can think of is that she lives next door to 2 guys who she calls Beardy Neighbour 1 and Beardy Neighbour 2, and she sort of, they come around, they see that she's not recycling the right things, and they come around to talk to her about it, and she just seems a bit sort of like she's really taking the mick out of them, that they're so obscene that they would do this. And that's probably not the best example, but there's quite a lot of poking fun in a way where it goes beyond poking fun. So still really think the content is amazing, but gave it 3 stars this year. It's probably 3.5 stars. So it's probably 3.5 stars, but still very enjoyable, very educational about Denmark and things like that. But yeah, just got knocked down 1.5 stars this time, which was as much a surprise to me as it will be to you guys, I'm sure. However, I also reread, so it's non-fiction November this month, so I've been reading a lot of non-fiction. And the second book I read, which I also feel like is probably why I knocked The Year of Living Danishly down by 1.5 marks, is Names for the Sea, Strangers in Iceland by Sarah Moss. So Sarah Moss is the author of The Tidal Zone, which is one of my favourite books, and she's written a whole host of other books. I'm trying to think of what they're called, but I can't think. Oh, I can see it's because of the reflection of that. I can see a heat reflection on the sofa, and it's because of my delicious candle there. Unusual. And I was reading this along the same time as listening to A Year of Living Danishly. Now, this is written beautifully. We all know without a doubt that Sarah Moss can write. The Tidal Zone is a beautiful piece of fiction, amazing, and she brings that into this. So in this book, Sarah Moss and her family have moved to Iceland as she takes a job working at a university there, her husband and her 2 young sons, and she talks about the journey that she moves from moving from Canterbury, which is where I went to university, to Iceland. And I just found that this was much more beautifully written. It sort of didn't have the poking fun aspect that I've mentioned in A Year of Living Danishly. Now, that's not to say there's not first world problems in here. There are. One of the things she's concerned about is that they don't have rocket in her local supermarket and things like that. But what I really like about this book is, whereas in The Year of Living Danishly, I would literally pack up my bags and move to Denmark tomorrow, I don't feel like that about Iceland, but I'm still really, really interested in everything she's got in here, and the fact that she has moved lives and how different it is. And I really loved this. I gave this 4 stars last year. I actually gave it 5 stars this year. I'm going to lend it to my sister. My sister is a very big fan of Year of Living Danishly, and she's also read The Tidal Zone. I feel like she'll really enjoy this. But yeah, I loved this and thought it was brilliant. So that's 2 rereads that I've already done in the month of November. One's dropped by 1.5 stars and the other one's gone up by 1 star. So yeah, the next one I read was The Edible Atlas by Mina Holland. This was a book I got for Christmas not even last year, I think maybe the year before, by David's parents. David's parents. This is really set out lovely. It is a sort of look throughout all of the continents, and it's set out in continents. It's set out by continent, and then within. So the first bit is set out in Europe, and then you go to France, and you go to specific areas within France. It gives sort of background on how the cuisines have become the way that they've become due to different spice routes, or what products they have in that area, and what the climate's like and things like that. And then it gives recipes and things as well. I feel like this is a really, really great present or gift for somebody who is into cooking, when that you're forever buying them cookbooks, because this is really interesting, and I found this really, really interesting. It's really laid out nicely and interesting. Can I say interesting anymore? But yeah, I thought it was great, and I feel like I gave it 3.5, so very enjoyable. The next book I read was Another Day in the Death of America by Gary Young. You may have seen me talking about this in my currently reading video. This is a book that was powerful and shocking and sort of touched me in all the right places in the way it was written. So Gary Young is a journalist. He's from the UK, and he now lives in America with a wife, and I think he's got 2 kids. And he just picked a day at random in just a day at random. I think when he maybe written it in the past sort of like years. So the day he picked is the 23rd of November 2013, and looked at the children that were killed as a result of gun crime that day. And there's 10 cases that day, which is just phenomenal as it is. And then goes into detail about each of those 10 children's lives, and how they came to be a victim of gun crime, and what's sort of been followed up from that since. This was shocking, and I had to sort of keep reminding myself that this was real, and this was real shit that was happening every single day. What I found really interesting is the fact that it's from a British guy's perspective. So for me, I live in a country where guns are illegal to have. I live in England, and for me, I can't get my mind around the fact that people are allowed to have guns and things like that. So I feel like reading it from Gary Young's perspective, who has also been brought up with that sort of mindset, really was interesting for me. And yeah, it was just moving and shocking and powerful, and I feel like everyone could benefit from reading from this and just seeing like how short life can be and how preventable that shortness of life can be. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars, and I found it amazing. And yeah, I would really recommend people read that. So that was the 4th book I read this month. Minnie's on the table now. She's just milling around. And then the last book I read, which I also mentioned in my currently reading, was What We See in the Stars, which is an illustrated tour of the night sky by Kelsey Osaid. This is a beautiful book, as you can see. It really is lovely. It's got all this sort of embossed silver bits, and it is all about the night sky. So it's got a whole section on night sky constellations, which I find hilarious. Literally, like how they've managed to make, for example, a sea monster out of what is essentially a pentagon joined by a line to another sort of mental shape there. Or one of my favourite ones, and I'll see if I can show it. I showed this one in my... that one's not actually too bad. That one does look like a dog. But the lesser dog, this... I showed this in currently reading. Excuse me. This is a line, 2 stars joined by a line, and they say that that's a dog.
Yeah, I can see it.
No, you cannot see it. Yeah, so I and there we go. There's a crow, which is another sort of irregular pentagon. That's a crow. But I did find it beautiful and interesting. It's just sad that you can't really see many stars in the skies here. But yeah, it was, and then in the back, it goes into sort of details about the moon and stars and things like that. I think this is a really gorgeous book to look at. And I think if you've got interest in the night sky and things like that, it would really be great. And I gave it 3 stars. Did I give it 2? I think I gave it 2.5 stars. But yeah, very, very beautiful and wonderful. So those are the books that I've read so far in the month of November. What have you guys been reading? Have you guys read any of these books that I have read, including The Year of Living Danishly? Are you all shocked that The Year of Living Danishly has gone down by 1.5 stars? I'm very shocked. And yeah, I will see you all again on Wednesday for another BookTube video. Goodbye!